seem to always forget how much summer changes what I play. It isn't necessarily that I wind up playing less, more that what I play changes significantly. With summer and having the kids home from school, I wind up playing more games with them, but that doesn't always lead to story games getting finished up. Add in vacation and other forms of busyness, and it made for a month where I didn't feel like I got too far on the backlog. That doesn't mean it wasn't a fun month, just a different sort of month. The list is a bit shorter than some months, but I guess that happens. I also didn't fully complete any games in June, but I am rather close on one that I'll talk about a little later. So let's take a look at what I played during June 2024. As I said, I didn't exactly get anything completed in June, but I did play the same story games as I did last month. The first is Stardew Valley. I did get my once or twice a month play in of Stardew Valley Expanded. While I always enjoy my time with this game, it just never winds up being my go-to story game during the month. With summer making me feel like I had a bit less time for story games than usual, this game once again found itself getting a little bit neglected. I did officially start summer of year 2, and I feel like that's a mark of progress compared to just being stuck in spring for the last number of months. This isn't to say anything against Stardew Valley. I really do love Stardew Valley and the expanded mods so far, but it's just one of those games that I don't get a lot of time with every month. Because I don't feel like I get through many other story games, I tend to focus on the other ones, whereas Stardew Valley just feels like it's going to take a lot longer to get to where I want to be kind of my soft ending point for at least putting it in the story category. So I think it's just a combination of those factors that just make it always be a little bit underplayed during the month. At number 2, I have Horizon Zero Dawn. This was the story game that received most of my attention during June. I'm like a quarter through the game, or at least I know last time I checked my completion level was around 25%. I'm not sure if that's exactly where I am and how that really translates to how far I am through the story of the game, but that's what I'll use. I have to say though that I haven't taken to Horizon Zero Dawn as quickly as I thought I would. I really do like the world of it, but the story and gameplay has taken some time to get into. I'm getting into the gameplay now, but story hasn't really sucked me in yet. Maybe it will as I get further into the narrative, but it's just not there yet. Maybe it's because I just tend to do side quests and stuff like that intertwined with the main story and it winds up diluting things a bit, but that's how I tend to enjoy the big open world games like this. Instead of waiting and doing all the optional stuff at the end of the narrative, I find that's not always as much fun to do. I guess we'll see though, because I've still got plenty of game left to go. Moving on from story games, I'll be focusing on games that I call endless games. These are games that don't have clear-cut endings. They can be online PvP, arcade, sandbox, creative, simulation, or party games. Some of these are games I enjoy quite a bit and keep playing off and on, while others are ones that I play for a season and then move on from. There are also games that we'll play as a family off and on depending on the month. June's list was a little shorter than some. The usual suspects are here and a couple other games that we wound up playing over the course of the month. First is Fortnite. Fortnite remains a fixture of what I play over the course of a month. We play it as a family regularly, and the summer has given us a bit more time to play together. The current season is pretty fun, but it had all kinds of weird swings during the month. The month started out with cars being a bit too powerful and really lacked any kind of means to counter the cars. But over the course of the month, cars were reduced in power, maybe a bit too much in some ways, and we gained a number of counters as well. This made the season feel a bit better. It's still a heavily car combat centered season, but if that's what the intention is, then they're nailing that and I am enjoying it. I still like the previous season with the Greek mythology just a little bit better though, but this season hasn't been quite as chaotic and frustrating as it was during the beginning of the season. I'm already at level 80 or so I'm pretty happy with where I am. There is still like a month and a half in the season, so hopefully I'll make a lot more progress before the end of the season and maybe even get up to the full level 200 and get all the extras unlocked as well. My second endless game is Marvel Snap. I've continued to play Marvel Snap as well through June. I felt like I didn't do quite as good as June as I did in May. The deck that I had been finding pretty good success with fell off a bit, and I just didn't find another one that worked any better for me. I kind of tweaked it a little bit near the end of the month, but I've been more focused on Conquest than the ladder now, so I'm kind of stalled out at the low 70s at the moment. I haven't really tried my tweaks yet in the ladder, so I don't know how well that will do. And even though it wasn't a great month for winning games and progressing up the ladder kind of thing, I did wind up getting a decent number of new cards this month. Most of this was due to the fact that some of the cards were lowered to a lower series, which makes them easier to find. I was able to get Howard the Duck, Echo, and Mirage due to this change, and I also found Sasquatch, Thena, Kyera, and Corvus Glaive in Spotlight caches. All of this plus getting Gilgamesh from the season pass. That's a pretty big haul of cards this month with 8 in total. Honestly, getting 4 cards out of the Spotlight cache is a pretty good month in general, and then add those those 3 cards that wound up going down to Series 3 and being easier to get just made it for a great month of getting new cards. I haven't used all of them in decks, but I have used some and have enjoyed the ones that I've used. Would be nice to see those series drops a little bit more often than what we do, but I'm glad that they do seem to at least be doing them more regularly than they had been before this. Now, I still feel like I'm not playing Marvel Snap quite as much as I did at the peak of my enjoyment of the game, but it is still a game I play a number of times over the course of a week and enjoy most of my time with. I don't really see it going away anytime soon unless there's something that really gets changed in the game that I really don't like. At number 3, I have NGU Idle. Now this rounds out the usual trio of games that are on my endless list. NGU Idle is an idle game, so while it is running quite a bit during the month, the amount of time it is actively played varies quite a bit. While I haven't played many idle games, this is probably the one I've stayed with the longest. I think it helps though that this is the first I've played on PC, I think, as opposed to a mobile version of a game. It's fun for little plays here and there, but definitely isn't an amazing game by any means. It does have a ton of depth in terms of features and unlocks, so that is a plus side for this game, even though it doesn't really have great art or UI isn't really very flashy or anything like that. It is a game that has a lot of stuff to unlock. And during June, I did manage to unlock a new feature, quests, so that has been kind of interesting to play around with and unlock some new boosts. I was also able to knock out a few of the challenges over the course of the month as well, so there was a little progress as always. I feel like that's kind of the case with the idle games like NGU Idle. You make a little progress every month, and that just kind of keeps on building up as time goes on. Fourth endless game is Warframe. While I didn't play this as much as my son did in June, I did play with him a couple of times and a little bit on my own as well. I was able to get the Wisp Warframe and level up a bunch of weapons and Warframes over the course of the month. What I really need to focus on is getting a Necromech for some of the story quests I haven't done yet, but I'm sure I'll get to that at some point. While it's not a game I played a lot, I do really like the gameplay of Warframe. Unfortunately, it can be a bit of a grind to get far into the game, but I do think it is a pretty fun experience most of the time. Fifth endless game is Bloons TD6. We played a night of Bloons TD6 together as a family during the very beginning of June. I think it might have been like the first day of June. We hadn't really done co-op for a while in Bloons, so it was nice to knock out a few levels together and have a nice laid back night of some Bloons co-op. We are getting to some of the harder levels at this point, so it can be a bit challenging sometimes, but overall, we don't tend to have a lot of trouble in the games most of the time. Other than that one time we played, I haven't really been playing Bloons TD6 much, just again, lack of time plays a lot into that. Trying to get through games makes me spend less time in some of these games that you can invest lots and lots of time in and make marginal progress. And the sixth endless game, which I'm not sure is exactly the right place to put it, but it's where we're going to stick it for now, is Moon Hunters. Right near the end of June, we played some Moon Hunters. Moon Hunters isn't probably a game many people have heard of. It's an action RPG of sorts. You play through so many days, with each day involving traveling through a new location. You battle enemies, find money, and can gain attributes based on the decisions you make over the course of the game. Things you unlock in your playthrough can then be used in later playthroughs. For example, if you learn to talk to animals in one playthrough, then that ability will continue on the next time you play. So you'll be able to talk to animals and interact with things that you weren't able to earlier on. While the model does lead to some repetition if you're playing it a lot all at one time, but if you're taking your time with it and playing it, once every few months, then it's a fun game to kind of go back to and unlock new things and figure out how to play through differently to find new experiences in your playthrough. Moving out of the endless category, let's look at the games I'm working on getting achievements or trophies for. This was the game that you could possibly say that I did complete in June, but since I'm sure we'll play it a bit more in July, I'm going to keep it here for now. And that game is Terraria. Over the last 3 or maybe even 4 summers, I've been playing through a Terraria world with my 2 kids. We beat the Moon Lord and all of the other bosses quite a while ago and have been working on trying to get all the trophies for the game. Right near the end of the month, I was able to get the platinum, but both of the kids still have a number of trophies left to go. While I may not need to help them get all of the trophies they need, there were a couple specific ones that we've been working on together that I'm sure we'll be doing in July. You might be like, well, how did I get them? I had some of the trophies that we're currently working on before we played this world, and so it's not easy to just transfer those over to them because the world that I got them on has long since been gone. So this will be a game that we are going to play at least a few times probably in July, but we are talking about moving on to a different game to all play together after we get to kind of where we want to close out our Terraria time. And that's what I played during June. Didn't get quite as far through games as I would have liked, but between vacation, kids being home from school, and trying to make videos, that just didn't happen. I'm not sure if July will be more of the same or whether it'll be a little bit different, but I guess I'll find out about this time next month. How about you? What have you been playing in June? Let me know in the comments, as it's always fun to see what others are playing and to look for games I may like to add to my own backlog. Hope everyone had a great month and you've been playing games that you enjoy. That's all for this month though, so I'll see you in the next video.